what the essential mystics teach us, if they're teaching us anything at all, I don't think they set out to become great teachers. I think they set out to become fully realized. And it is our recognition that, here's a psychological term, projects onto them master teachers. They just happened upon it because they kept true to their practice. They knew there was something more. How many of you already, let's start with the basic ingredients of getting to the center of the soul and getting into the mystical branch of your consciousness. Let's say there's a whole city in there called mysticism. It's in you already, and you just have forgotten how to navigate to the town square. Anyone? Have you thought about this before? Like, think of it like this. I think about it like, what if the infinite intelligence, from wherever it is that we come from to get here, they send us out on our way and they say, the only thing you need to remember is where you came from. Don't forget all of this. Don't forget what you are. Sometimes when people send their children to college, they say, no, when you get there, don't forget who you are. That's good advice anyway, right? When you move to a new city, don't forget who you are. What? Meaning, don't fall under the influence of the things that are coming in from the outside. Remember who you are in the middle, the center of your soul. So what if the cosmic intelligence, the thing that brought all of us here from the same place, said, all you have to do when you get there is just remember this place. Just remember it, right? The consciousness, just don't forget. And you're like, how easy is that? Okay, how could I ever forget this? It's gonna be trickier than you think. No way, I'll never forget you. Have you ever said that? Think about it. Then we get here, and it's all sorts of incoming stimulation, depending on where you were born, what your order of birth is, whether you're born in a particular type of body that gets to experience this or experience that, or you're none of those things. We're all of these things and none of them at the same time. At once would be a better way to say it. At once. And becoming fully realized. I know a lot of people are having challenges with the spectrum of everything is on a continuum. Male to female, female to male. There's a continuum of these things. It's just made it easier for us to compartmentalize and identify for our limited consciousness. We want to organize, categorize. We've been taught that that is an effective use of the mind and an important way that we can use to navigate ourselves through time-space. There's an element of that is necessary, right? That's not the whole of how it goes. That's it. We need to be able to dip into this room over here to participate with life. But at the end of it, pull it all back into the spine and brain and meditation. Take it all back in and remember who you are. So every single day, when we go to sleep, it's the most natural way for us to do this. You fall asleep and the whole world, if we get to sleep well, the whole world just turns off, right? You're not thinking about anything when you're sleeping. You might be dreaming, but you're not doing anything. Everything sleeps. All of the energy is withdrawn from the senses and we fall asleep. We could do that at will, and we could take it even further. We could be conscious that we're doing it through meditation, maybe a walk in the woods. That's even, spending some energy. But just if every day we could consciously, even for 5 minutes, turn off all of the senses and get back to the center of the soul, from which everything grows out from that. Everything grows out from that. How many of you have heard of imaginal cells by now? Okay, so Bruce Lipton wrote a book about this, but it's a natural occurrence that happens when the caterpillar goes into the chrysalis and liquefies itself in the chrysalis and then emerges as a butterfly. What scientists call those cells, the blueprint of that butterfly was already always in there. Well, what first had to happen was the caterpillar had to lose the idea that it was this particular form. And so to do this, it goes into the chrysalis, that little cocoon-looking thing, and it liquefies itself, starting with its head first. Of course. First, you got to get out of your mind, even a caterpillar. And then these imaginal cells take over and start to just, with the help of the infinite, not the little mind, the infinite intelligence is already in there and emerges as this beautiful butterfly. And it does it seemingly by itself. The same thing, Eddie wrote a really cool song, like a chick who feels it's dying before cracking through its shell. In a sense, it is. It's dying to the little thing that was protected in this little shell. It can no longer live there. If it's going to survive and become its next evolution of its consciousness, on its own, it has to crack through the shell. If you go crack the shell for it, it doesn't get the strength to fly. It needs to push out on its own to get that energy moving through its limbs, its wings, its legs, right? Same with the butterfly. On a much more fragile, I do this one, it's so finite, it's so sensitive, it's so perfect and so powerful. So this is where we are, this inward journey, this journey back to the mystical mind, which we all possess. If our imaginal selves and our own brains can remember what it was we really came to do here, with this particular maybe soul agreement, who are you? What are you doing? And doesn't it evolve and change? Yeah. So always going in to meditation, especially when you're not sure how to proceed. Like, I am not sure what to do next. I stop, the firemen will tell you stop, drop, and roll. I just stop, drop, and meditate. Just go with it, turn it all off, because all the information's not in yet. And from that, everything starts to slow down. And you'll recognize you've got this superhuman capacity for patience. Me? Sometimes better than others. I find I'm not as patient when I need to do it my way now. Right? When I need to do it the infinite's way now, I realize I'm patient in every moment, because every now moment is evolving. It's evolving and shifting and changing. And there's more information coming in, not from outside sources, but welling up from within, and I'm bringing it out. So tune in. Radio stations, we tell you, tune in every Sunday morning at 10 for SoulCall Sunday. Tune in, not tune out. So turn off this outer world as often as you can. And to the point of where it feels uncomfortable. Like, stay disconnected for a period of time where I don't think I know what's going on. Good. Do it like that for a little while, because what's going on outside is not as important as what is happening on the inside. And that's where everything lives. That's where it's most alive. That's where all the energy is, tuning in and growing from the outside. I was thinking about this on the way over to AIAM this morning. I was thinking, and I'd love to see my face as I'm driving sometime when I'm thinking these thoughts, because it could be kind of like, it's like at a light, some people are singing and I'm going. But I started to think about the things we say sometimes. It's like when the world is falling apart around us, or what if when the world is exploding around us? Us, what is us? I start working it backwards. It's exploding around me. Around what's me then? What's the foundational piece of me that is always there? Whether things fall apart or explode, I'm still in the middle recognizing this, so then what am I? I am that cosmic force, that source, that imaginal cell that the infinite wants to program daily to be whatever it needs to be every single day. All the pressure's off. I don't have to be some great big thing forever, or some tiny little thing forever. We take turns like the waves. It's all like this. If we don't make it mean something, and every time I watch the Grammys, I think about this. I think about the dreams I had of winning a Grammy until I figured out how that worked. I'd still, if somebody wanted to give me a Grammy, I'll take it. I will take the Grammy, definitely. But the point is, that's not the goal. That's the result, again, of doing, like these mystics, that's the result of doing the thing you love. Somebody all of a sudden gets contagious with it and they start to notice. Do what you love. And if you're not sure what you love, develop the habit of loving to tune in to the infinite. Turning it all off. If nothing looks wonderful out here, it's time for you to close your eyes and go within. I said this a couple weeks ago, but at this moment in my life, I feel like I am more at home with my eyes closed. going in. I recognize a lot of things that I've created, I'm co-created with many other people. None of us does anything by ourselves except to be ourselves with others. You have to be that. That is an essential element of who and what we are. We have to show up as our piece of it. I remember one time, when things don't show up as what they are, Rumi says, be as you look and show up as what you are. Like, so, for example, let me break that down for you. I remember we were in Playa del Carmen. A whole bunch of musicians were flown down there for this big retreat, really fun. And we were put up in condos, and everything was stocked in there already for us. And I have coffee in the morning, and I'm standing there talking to Michael Gott, and I just go to scoop some sugar on the counter into my coffee, and I stir it around, like take a sip. It was salt. Like, who leaves salt like that on a... And he laughs because I make a particular face, and I just go like, he goes, you just did it again. I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm gonna do that a lot this week. But the thing is, something that looks like something that it isn't. Don't be something that appears to be one thing but is not what it is. Know who you are. That's all our goal is to remember who we are. Remember what we are, how we can imagine ourselves like inside of every square inch of blood, in another Eddie Galucka song is 75 billion cells. Think about that. And each one of them is decaying and rapidly reproducing at once. What we were yesterday, we are not today, biologically speaking. We're not the same person. Another thing to think about, when we're projecting onto other people or projecting into a situation, from within, we can create an out-picturing of the thing the infinite would like to draw with our being, or draw to us from our being. So there's this way, if we can clear away, like I remember writing a song in 1993 when I was coming back to myself and traveling inward. It was a mental journey that it felt like I was just like bushwhacking through a jungle. So many thoughts that weren't mine, but I knew where I was going at that point because the pulse of the infinite intelligence was so strong and it was so bright and so magnetic that I wasn't gonna miss it. Every single day, that's all I did. So I've developed a couple habits I would like to share with you today that really worked for me to help dump out the stuff. We take our garbage out every day, or at least drag it to the curb once a week. We empty the things that no longer serve us. It's garbage. How often do we empty the garbage from our consciousness? And how long would we keep the garbage in the house, really? Even if you were really sick and somebody couldn't help you. This is like a real question. We wouldn't put up with that. We wouldn't keep garbage in our homes unless something was wrong, right? So there's nothing wrong with us, is what I'm trying to say. Nothing wrong. We just got into the habit of following along lockstep with a view of the world that works for some people really well, but not everyone. And ours is to decide how it works for us and what we bring to the equation. So it's like in 1983, I wrote this song called, like, there was a jungle, it felt like, in my mind. And my thoughts are usually pretty clear, but the further I got into it, the closer I got to the source of it, the harder it got. And that's when I knew I was really onto it, because I'm almost going to be out of this whole situation that dictates every move I make and tells me who I should be, what I need to be, how I need to do it, how I need to dress in order to get a Grammy, the songs I need to sing in order to get serious. So, I had opportunities when I was younger to do these things, but it would have required a particular type of dress, a particular type of song that I couldn't sing. It wasn't my authentic self. So I had to trade that out and realized the most powerful music I created came from my soul. And when I sing it, it hits other people in the soul. I don't even need a radio dial for that. You can just walk in and beat it. So that's the invitation. The invitation is to whatever you're doing, do it from the soul frequency, which encompasses all of it. And recognize sometimes it feels like the more I do this, sometimes it gets so hard. It's just like that chick who feels it's dying before cracking through its shell. It's so hard, and all of a sudden, oh my God. Had I stopped, you can't even finish that sentence. You don't know, because you wouldn't have been there saying it, right? I would have died. I could have died in there. Yeah, but you didn't. You know? And here you are on this next phase of evolution. And it's not something that is, these are the best years of your life. Every year is the best year of your life. You're here. And ours is to stretch what is possible. There are truly no limitations in these beautiful physical bodies. There is only opportunity to experience some things you can't without one. So go for it. Have some fun. But do things for the body and with the body that help nourish it. And when you're tuning in more and more with Infinite Source, things you thought were joyful, you're going to trade in for bliss, which is more lasting. It's not as temporary. It's not as temporary. And that's how you know the difference. When you leave that thing, how long do you carry it with you? I think I've told this story before about like a silent meditation retreat. The first time I went, first of all, nobody thought I could be quiet it was only 2.5 days. I mean, there were, my friends are definitely, some of them probably have some betting on the game for sure today or something like that. But the bet was, there's no way you're going to be able to not talk for 2.5 days. It's never going to happen. But it did, because I went with someone who was, I was, and she was Zoom quiet. So she was the perfect person to go with. And I didn't know that until we left, but I was so grateful because she was to the letter. For 2.5 weeks after not talking, I had more bliss and energy, and my meditations were still relatively restless back then. I mean, this was all new to me. But just communicating with Source on a regular basis in the silence was so powerful, energizing. And you carry that bliss for 2.5 weeks. Like maybe you leave a concert and it feels good for a couple days, or whatever it is. You leave here, it's probably a couple weeks. But, the thing is to recognize that it's always right inside of you. You are a little walking soul station. You don't need anything else. You've got it everywhere you go, no matter what's happening around you, is the other thing. So being clear about that. I was thinking about this today, and I wanted to grab this imaginal cells from Bruce Lipton. From within the dying population of cells, a new breed of cells begins to emerge called imaginal cells, aka you. I could have written this myself 10 years ago. Clustering in community, they devise a plan to create something entirely new from the wreckage. Right? Think about this. Think about repurposed anything. We demolish a building, drag away the bricks, and we use this to make that. Our bodies can do this because it's all energy. It's all energy. Out of the decay arises a great flying machine, a butterfly, that enables the survivor cells to escape from the ashes and experience a beautiful world far beyond imagination. Here's the amazing thing. He says the caterpillar and the butterfly have the exact same DNA. The caterpillar and the butterfly. They are the same organism, but are receiving and responding to different organizing signals. So my invitation for you today is respond to a different organizing signal. The organizing signal of your soul. Turn all the rest of this off. Empirical wisdom is really important for some things. Turning off the eyes. Turning off the nose. Turning off the ears. Feelings. Pulling it all into the caterpillar of the spine, like the spine and the brain. And let it regrow itself out. There's a way of healing. Helen and I talk about this, like transferring energy from, if your left wrist hurts, transfer the energy of your good wrist. It feels good over here. Just mentally, put that feeling over here. Just keep doing it. If your knee hurts, put both your logongs, right? Your alaogongs is what I call them. Oh no, I just activated something on that darn camera again. Okay, good. So maybe just put it on either side and just run light through it. Boom, it stimulates the energy in your cells. It knows it can do it. But we're using our mind for something specific. So here are the steps to this. Deep concentration. Deep concentration. Deep, deep, deep concentration. Concentrate all of your energy to the point between the eyebrows, the third eye. Be as still as you possibly can be. And at which point, let's practice it for a second. What I found when I first started to try to be as still as I could possibly be, everything started to itch. That's when you know you're getting somewhere. It's giving you an immediate challenge. Stand up and fight like a man. You remember that from what is that? Monty Python? So if you get an instant itch, say, thank you, God. You just know I can take it. Or goddess or source or whatever it is. But you'll start to understand that if I didn't scratch it, it'll stop. It'll stop however long it takes to stop. Or you'll just stop noticing it. Do you ever notice that? Every day you look in the mirror and you notice this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing, or you notice it on your arm, or you just notice it, and one day you just say, you know what, something else happens, and you haven't thought about it in 4 days, and you look and it's gone. Does that ever happen to you? Yeah, it's because our attention. So if those studies on water and physics, quantum physics does tell us that if we focus on something, if we put our thoughts and our eyes on it, it makes the thing shift. It can't not do it. So we're wired for this. So tuning into the reorganizing signal of the soul. So getting still for a moment with the palms turned upward at the juncture of the thighs and abdomen. Lifting the gaze between the eyebrows, the spiritual eye. And just following the breath. On the inhalation, if you're going to chant anything mentally, it's I am, that I am. On the exhalation, that I am. And then that period between the inhalation and the exhalation, enjoy very much the breathless state. That's where it's at. Yeah. Just fully appreciate the silent wisdom. The silent soul speaks. And the stillness and the bliss. We are clustering, communicating, and tuning into a new, coherent signal of love, whose source is the center of our soul. So when you're ready, just bring your attention back to the room. Once again, I invite you to join us for the Mystics class, the Essential Mystics. Even if you can't make every single one, the way we're organizing this class, it's going to be co-creating it together. So it's starting Tuesdays, starting February 21st. And it's going to be a wonderful class, just remembering who you are.